So it's opening day of bow season for the 2022 season. Um, I don't think hardly anybody went hunting this morning because a hurricane is blowing through. It was really bad this morning. It's let up for the time being, so I'm gonna try to slip up in here and probably won't get much film because I'm gonna try to keep this camera dry. I don't like buying cameras, but who knows? I mean, big bucks move in the rain, so anything's possible if you're out here, I guess. Okay, I'm about halfway up the mountain. Just taking my time, trying not to get too hot because I got all this stuff on, trying to stay dry. It's about 50 degrees, but sitting in this wind and rain, I'll cool off quick this evening. It's opening day of bow season. I'm the only one on the access road. I don't know where everybody's at. It's about 6 o'clock now. I saw that deer coming down. Got a little shot of film of him. I don't know how much you can tell, but then I got ready to shoot. He popped out here at about right at 40. And I shot. I found my arrow. I hit this tree right here. It's not the way I wanted to start the season. Pretty sure that's the buck I was after up here. Been getting trail camera pictures of him. He shot down the mountain. I'll go down here and look, but I don't see any signs of a hit. Man, as soon as he popped out where he could see me, he saw me. Okay, well, I'm calling off the search. I'm sure I missed him. At first I was just relieved, that I didn't want to wound him. And I'm glad I didn't wound him. That would be sickening, but now that it's sinking in, I'm starting to get a little nauseous feeling. These things are so hard to get in front of, man. I mean, it is so hard to do. A lot of times you'll get one chance a season, and that might be it for the year, really. Whew. Why I missed that shot, I have no idea. I mean, this crossbow is dead on, so it's on me.
I hunted that buck several more times, but never saw him or got another picture. A friend did see him over a mile away in December, proving that he not only survived my missed shot, but Virginia's long gun season as well. With that deer pulling a vanishing act, we turned our focus to another buck. Wide, heavy, and with lots of extras, he was a buck worth some. It involved a lot of long, dark hikes in, lots of sunrises and sunsets, long days on stand, and long, dark hikes out. We were dealing with a mostly nocturnal buck, but at least he did stay in the area. We made countless attempts on this deer, even trying an overnight trip. There were some close encounters with some smaller bucks, and one camera check painfully revealed that we missed a daylight opportunity by only one day. As usual, the mountains were being very stingy. Once the rut was over, the buck disappeared from the cameras. With the weather turning cold and a decrease in deer sightings, it was difficult to get out of bed and climb the mountain each morning. We saw a few small bucks before the season was over, but in the end, we couldn't find one we would be happy with. I don't know whatever happened to that buck, but he was one impressive animal. However, Lee and I don't just hunt the mountains. We feel very fortunate to have a couple pieces of private land we're allowed to hunt. The difference between private land and the mountains can be night and day. Most of the mountain land is old growth timber that doesn't support an abundance of deer. Not so on the private land. With recent logging and nearby agriculture, there's a healthy population. Not just of deer, but all wildlife. It's not uncommon to see as much activity in one day on private land as you would in an entire season hunting the mountains on public land. We can't thank our landowners enough for allowing us to hunt these special places. If there is a downside to these properties, it's that the ones we hunt are small. We see so many young bucks with great potential. Bucks that would be outstanding deer if they made it another year. Or two. Or, well, a lot of the ones we see are going to need some time. But the hunting pressure on the surrounding properties is intense. And every year the process seems to repeat itself. We see good deer, but not the older age class we're looking for. Then we never see those deer again, and they're replaced by more of the same age class bucks the following year. That's why when I saw this buck on the morning of November 15th, and I saw the mass of his antlers and the long brow tines, I didn't think a lot about it. I just wished him the best and hoped he would somehow slip through the cracks and get to the age he'd need to reach his potential. I didn't know it at the time, but this buck was going to give me one heck of a hunt. In the summer of 2023, the trail cameras were revealing some of the biggest bucks we'd ever seen. And once the fall hit, we couldn't wait to get after them. But like everyone else, we don't always have the time it requires to get to where these big bucks are at. That's when it's nice to have something close. And sometimes it's just fun to hunt deer.
So, you know how life gets in the way and you don't get to hunt as much as you want to? That's me today. It's 4 o'clock now. I'm just now getting in the woods. I'm on private land. Basically a doe hunt. I don't have any pictures of any shooters in here. I did see a couple bucks here yesterday morning, but I'm gonna go up here and sit over a little water source. It's starting to get a little dry again. It's pretty warm, close to 70, I'd say. So, wind seems a little shifty. That's never good, but if it's meant to be, it'll happen. I don't know if I'll see any deer or not. The squirrel movement this evening is amazing. come on. But she kind of locked up there, and that wind was pretty unstable this evening. So, I mean, I had a shot, so I took it. I'll give it a few and go see what happens.
Over the years, we've experienced good deer movement, and particularly good buck movement on rainy days. But in the high elevations of the mountains, fog can be a real issue.
It's not exactly ideal conditions.
This is going to be difficult.
This is another situation where we lean heavily on our private land. You still get just as wet, but at least you can see. November 10th was one of those rainy days, and I was watching a couple of young bucks when a third deer appeared behind them. Cautious as all big bucks are, it was several minutes before he moved out where I could get a good look at him. With good mass and towering brow tines, he was the best buck I'd seen all season, and one of the biggest deer I've ever seen on that property. I have to admit, I looked at him pretty closely. He was a good-looking buck, but still just not quite what we were looking for, so I let him go. It wasn't until I got home and looked at some old footage that I realized he was the same heavy-horned buck that I'd seen from the same stand the year before. Almost 2 weeks later, on November 22nd, it was another rainy day and I was back in the same stand. The buck surprisingly made another appearance using the same trail. However, this time, the wind bobbled a little and he caught my scent. His reaction was unforgettable. He immediately looked up into the trees for danger, then quickly retreated back the way he'd come from. Although he never saw me, it was clear this buck was educated on the use of tree stands. By the end of the 23 season, we had connected on two incredible mountain bucks. With Jamie and myself each getting our highest scoring buck ever, it will without question be a year we will never forget. Back on the private, I never did see the highbrow buck again, but I did get 2 pictures of him late in November, giving me hope he'd make it the rest of the way through the season. I run a lot of cameras in the mountains, and in 2024 I cast a wide net to see what I could find, and eventually I was able to locate some great looking bucks. But on private land, I typically only run one camera and rarely get anything worthwhile on it. I was checking it one day and noticed a cluster of deer sign about 100 yards away, so I moved the camera over to it without thinking much about it. I checked it a week later and I was shocked. Highbrows had made an appearance. He was alive and well. I wanted to get some video of him, so I swapped to a cell camera at that location. Bears aren't as common on our private properties, and after this encounter, I felt lucky to have a camera left at all. I don't know if it was my intrusion or the bears, but I didn't get another picture of Highbrows for the remainder of the summer. Okay, opening day of bow season. It's finally here. I got a pretty good buck on camera back in the summer on this piece of property, and I'm playing it pretty careful. I came in about 3 weeks ago and hung some more cameras, made a mock scrape, and I got all the tree stands set up, so nobody's been in for weeks. The wind's not great this morning for where I want to go deeper in the property, so I'm just going to hang back and just see what I can see. Finally here.
Opening morning. First deer of the year.
The first few sits on that property went about as expected. I was seeing a few deer, but with the high temperatures, the deer movement was pretty minimal, and the wind direction was keeping me from pushing too deep. On October 12th, the wind was still keeping me on the edge of the property, but a temperature drop had the deer moving.
Did a morning hunt on private, and for a long time I didn't see anything. It was almost 10 o'clock before I saw a deer. It's just me and the squirrels hanging out up here. But did finally have some deer come through. There's a couple bucks in the bunch. But couldn't get a good look at them. But from what I could tell, it's nothing I wanted to shoot. Back in the summer, I got a picture of a pretty good buck in here. So hang out and see what happens. About time to get down for today, though.
I didn't know it at the time, but these weren't the only bucks on the property that the cooler temperatures had on their feet. At about the same time I was watching these bucks pass through, 200 yards away, Highbrows made his first appearance in weeks, about 20 yards in front of one of my stands. The forecast was for a front to move through and finally give me the wind I needed to push in deeper.
So the other morning, when I was sitting about 200 yards away, that big buck daylighted down here on a rock scrape I made. So I came back in this morning and hunted. It was pretty windy this morning, but I did see a couple small bucks. Came right by here perfect. And then maybe saw some turkeys later on. So for as windy as it is, I had a pretty good morning. I'll head on out here in a little bit.
Highbrows passed by that camera the next 2 nights, but well after dark. Then it was 2 weeks before another camera picked him up, moving just before daylight.
I picked this stand up here by this big hornet. The picture I got this morning was about 60, 70 yards over my left shoulder. Love hunting these big deer, man. It's such a chess match. Trying to play the wind right. Like, you gotta hunt them to kill them, but don't let them know they're being hunted. Don't let them wind you. It's nerve-wracking and fun at the same time. Love it.
Up to this point in the season, I'd been splitting my time between Highbrows and a good-looking, but very nocturnal mountain buck. As expected on high-pressured public land, within 2 weeks, seemingly every deer in the area had been pushed out. He's a puzzle I'm still working on, but with that buck pulling a disappearing act, I was more focused on Highbrows than ever.
So this morning I'm hunting that big brow tine buck again. I did a very low impact stand this morning. I don't want to keep pushing down on the far end of the property where he normally is, because I just don't want to overhunt it. Had a good morning right here. Had deer around me the whole time. Saw one rack buck. I just got a glimpse of him. I mean, that big one very easily could come up to this end. I don't want to keep going down there and pushing him out. Like, he hadn't been on my camera for a few days now, so I don't know where he's at. But I don't think he knows where I'm at either, and I want to keep it that way.
Out of all the cameras I had running, the one on the mock scrape was the most active, but I didn't hunt that stand. It's in the most intrusive location on the property, and I didn't feel like it was time to get that aggressive yet.
It's opening day of our early black powder season. We've been sitting in the stand all day long. Good deer movement, but nothing we wanted to shoot. It is the rut, November. You don't know what might happen, but there's one buck in particular we're in here looking for. We've seen a lot of deer, but not him, so we'll keep waiting.
Lee had the whole weekend off, so the next morning we were right back at it in a different stand. Once again we had good deer movement, and late in the morning Lee was tempted by a pretty good-looking buck. But to his credit, he held off. Once Lee was back at work, I tried a couple of short morning hunts. I was starting to see some rut activity, but no sign of Highbrows, and it had been almost 2 weeks since I'd even gotten a picture of him.
He's around here somewhere.
Then on the 9th, he showed up at the mock scrape. He appeared to be injured and wasn't moving too well. Thinking that he wouldn't go far in that condition, I hunted that stand the next morning. I never saw a single deer, but I did hear several shots just across the fence on the neighboring property. Convinced that he was dead, I headed for the mountains and hunted the next couple of days. On the 12th, he shows up again, in daylight. Turns out he wasn't nearly as dead as I thought he was, and he seemed to be moving pretty well. The weather conditions were perfect, so I hunted there the next 2 mornings. The rut was in full swing, and I had high hopes of seeing him for the 3rd year in a row. Every time I see a flash of antler, my heart would skip a beat. And I did see some good bucks, but I still couldn't get in front of Highbrows, and the season was starting to slip away.
Had pretty good movement this morning before that rain came in. All little bucks. Didn't even see a doe. I'm getting ready to head on out. I gotta go home and pack. I gotta go to Montana for a week and hunt deer. So this place will get a break from me. Check you later.
We didn't know what to expect on our trip out west. We were hunting all public land, and for the most part, in places none of us had ever been before. Part of the fun of it is the sense of adventure, learning the lay of the land and how the animals use it. It's a completely different style of hunting. We would normally still hunt over to a good glassing point and then try the spot and stalk method before moving on. There's really no telling what you're going to see, and compared to the east, it can seem like a target-rich environment. The open country and all the different game species are what make the West so much fun to hunt. We all enjoy the challenge of trying to find the best an area has to offer and holding out for a top-end animal. Anytime you do that, there's a good chance of going home empty-handed, but that was no big concern to anyone in our group. The weather can change fast out there, and we got blasted with some cold temperatures and the opportunity to hunt a few days in the snow. In the end, one of the best mountain hunters I know did what he always seems to do: notch a tag on an old buck when nobody else could. The week in Montana went by fast, and it was time to load up and make the long cross-country trip home. While I was gone, Highbrows only made one appearance. I didn't know if he was still around or even still alive, and I only had 1 week left of rifle season.
So I decided to do a little evening hunt. Kind of last minute thing, but I got in from Montana late last night, kind of early this morning. So I didn't hunt this morning, but pretty decent weather. It's like 47 degrees. So I'm not going to go deep in the woods. I'm going to sit right here on the edge, and the wind's blowing my scent out into the pasture fields. Let's see what happens. Deer just walked through that gap. Big deer. I didn't hear a crash. I don't know. He was standing right in here somewhere. I don't see any signs of a hit. I don't see any blood. There was one little gap out in front of him. I was afraid he was going to walk right through it, so I got ready to shoot. But he turned and started coming toward me. So I had to wait for him to get broadside. Man, I don't know how I could have missed him, but I'm not seeing any blood. I still haven't found any blood. I know he took off down toward this ditch down here, so I'm gonna keep zigzagging that way, see if I can pick up anything. Man, I don't know how I could have missed that shot. It was just an easy shot. I just found him. I didn't find any blood. Coming down through here, and I was still looking for blood. I saw which way he ran. I just walked right up on him. He's beautiful. Oh my gosh. This is what I saw when I looked over. I was looking for blood. I just looked over, and this is what I saw. It's so gorgeous. Oh. Oh, smokes. The mass in this buck. Look at this. Oh my gosh, man. The brow tines and the mass. Holy, like I can't reach around it there.
I was so shaken up by how fast and unexpectedly this hunt went that I messed up more post-hunt interviews than I ever have in my life. The more of them I tried to do, the worse they got. But in the end, I did manage to get one thing right.
Smokes, man. I got a couple extras down here. What a gorgeous deer, man. Just what a story and what a deer. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for creating these things. All right, it's next morning now. Got him out here in the daylight. Maybe you can see him a little.
I'm always curious about what a buck scores, but it's not all that important to me. For me, it's more about the experience of the hunt itself, the memories made, and the lessons learned along the way. I do wish I'd have gotten some film of him coming in, because he was a sight to behold. But when it comes right down to it, I'm still a hunter first and a cameraman second. I'm so blessed to be able to do what I do, and I don't take it for granted. We never know which buck will be our last, or which hunt. I don't know where I'll be hunting next season. Maybe I'll dig deeper and try to learn more about a buck from this past season that I couldn't figure out. Or maybe one of the young bucks I saw while scouting on private land will grow into a giant, and I'll spend my time hunting him. Or maybe I'll hunt an old buck that I've been after for years, a ghost that shows up on camera every season, seemingly just to let me know he's alive before vanishing back into the night. A buck that I try to get ahead of, but always seem to be behind. All I do know is that, Lord willing, I'll be hunting whitetails again, somewhere.